Okay, so now I know this is kind of a subjective quiz, but here are the answers I was looking for. Storing logging information. This is something I just mentioned previously. That's a really common use of cookies. When you log into a website, the web server gives you a cookie, and that identifies you for future requests. Storing small amounts of data to avoid hitting a database. Yes, this is another kind of handy little thing. If you've just got a small piece of data that you want to store, it's temporary, it's small. You don't need to have all the infrastructure of a database to store it, and have to hit your database on every request to retrieve it, that sort of thing. Especially if it's anonymous data, data you don't mind losing, because a user can, of course, clear all the cookies out of their browser, or a browser may not have cookies enabled at all. Storing user preference info. No, this is not a good use of cookies, at least in the notion of a user as we've been kind of talking about, where you might log into a website and you have these preferences. This is because you want the data to survive. Cookies can be erased at any time. A user can change browsers. They can go to a different machine, and the cookies the cookies are specific to one browser, and as long as the user allows them to be there. So data like user preferences that you want to exist until a user changes it on your website shouldn't be stored in cookies. And tracking you for ads. This is unfortunately maybe not a good use, more of an appropriate use, because tracking you for ads isn't really inherently a good thing, but it's a really common use of cookies. You go to a website, you may find yourself with 20 cookies that are tracking you for different ad providers. And in fact, I had a friend who worked for an ad tracking company for a while, and these two answers are kind of related. They used to joke that they had the world's largest database stored in users' browsers, all across the internet. They had like many hundreds and thousands of terabytes of data, in theory, stored, a few hundred bytes at a time in users' cookies, because they powered a lot of really big ad networks. Cookies, and we'll come back to a little bit how ad networks works. I think it's interesting to understand, but cookies are a critical technology for tracking you for advertising purposes.